Empower Radio presents Welcome to Blissville with the Bliss Lady, Teri Willams. Get ready to connect with inspiring, motivating, enlightening, and joyful guests who are following their bliss. Now, here's your host, Teri Willams.
Well, welcome. Hey, today we're going to talk about finding love. Finding the right love is 100% possible, says my guest, Dr. Terri Orbuch, also known as the Love Doctor. With scientifically proven information, that means that finding that special someone is completely doable, and it's going to be fun, wonderful, exciting, and exhilarating, and all that groovy stuff that comes with it. Dr. Terri has written a fabulous book called Finding Love Again, 6 Simple Steps to a New and Happy Relationship. For some, that might sound too good to be true, but Dr. Terri is going to put that to rest and let us know exactly how easy it is. Welcome to Blissville, Dr. Terri.
Thanks for having me. It's so wonderful to be here, Terri.
Well, you know, a lot of people are really stuck and fearful when they're in relationships. But before we get into all of that, I want to know a little bit about how you became known as the Love Doctor.
It's a great name, isn't it?
Yeah.
About maybe now 8 years ago, I had been doing research on relationships and teaching relationships at a university, and also doing counseling, therapy for marriage and divorce. And I was doing all of this great research, Terri, but it was really getting put in academic journals. So I decided that what I really wanted to do is take all of this research, especially the research from my long-term study that's nationally funded on marriage and divorce and new love, and bring it into the public. So I coined myself as the Love Doctor and decided to take all of these findings and make them accessible to everyone.
Well, and you did this through your patients and this study. You took it all, you put it together. This is actually your second book, right, that you have out?
Yes, it's my second popular book. My first is called 5 Simple Steps to Take Your Marriage from Good to Great, and it's based on the happily married couples that I've been following now for 25 years, all who got married in 1986. So it's really based on science. The second book, which we're talking about today, Finding Love Again, is based on the divorced individuals from that study. When individuals get divorced, I continue to follow them over time. And I've been really interested in how the divorced individuals coped, adjusted, how they or whether they found new love again, and the lessons they learned about relationships. So Finding Love Again is based on those divorced individuals, and 71% of the divorced individuals found new love again.
Wow.
That's a lot, I think.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. Well, and the rate for divorce in and of itself today is extremely high. Isn't it close to almost 50%?
Well, in my study, it was 46%, and
Wow.
nationally it's between 45 and 50%. But from my point of view, Terri, I don't think that's that high. And I'll tell you why. Because you have two people coming together, forming a commitment for a long time, and the two people are coming from different families, different backgrounds, sometimes different religions or class, and what you have are two people who are bound to have differences and conflict and disagreements. So from my point of view and from a scientific point of view, it's amazing that 54%, at least in my study, are still together over time.
Well, yeah, boy, that's really looking at the glass half full, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, which is totally what I love, right? Well,
Yes.
you know, coming from somebody who has been divorced twice, I won't get into my history, but I mean, I'm on my third marriage, and it was kind of a joke, but we just celebrated our 9th anniversary, and I said, "Oh my God, it's amazing! This is the longest I've ever been married."
That's wonderful.
But
that is
really,
wonderful.
To me, it is. It's amazing. But I looked at, in going through the book, some of the things that I really practiced are some of the things that you offer in this book. And so I personally believe it is doable and it can be successful. But what are some of the things that people can do, like to move past that fear and to step into finding a really good, committed relationship?
Well, I think the first 4 chapters or first 4 steps of this book, Terry, are really different, and they're different from other dating books. So what I encourage people to do is not just get out there again, not just go back out there and date, but instead do the 4 chapters first. And the first step then, and they all deal with, by the way, stepping back and looking at yourself. The first 4 steps are all about you. So the first step is you want to step back and say to yourself, what are my beliefs about relationships? What are my expectations about a good relationship? And are they realistic? Do I have realistic ideas about divorce and then having a new relationship? What I found in my study, Terry, is that many people don't have these realistic beliefs. For example, many people believe that once you get out there and you start dating again, you should just put yourself out there and disclose everything about yourself. And if the person doesn't like you, tough luck. What I have found, though, is that's not realistic. That's not actually what you should do because people get overwhelmed. Instead, a good expectation, a better thought would be that you want to, once you're out there, gradually disclose or reveal information about yourself. It's almost like the airplane phenomenon. If you're sitting next to somebody and they just sort of what I call vomit out their entire life to you, you want to just run. And it's the same thing when you first meet somebody. So go slowly. Give them a little bit about you first and then a little bit more. Don't tell them everything at once. It's too overwhelming and it's too much. Another unrealistic belief about relationships is that conflict is bad. There were 4 couples in my study in year 1 who said we never have conflict. None of those 4 couples are still together in year 3. What we have found over time is that conflict is inevitable. You're going to have disagreements. You're going to not agree on everything. Instead, it's how you deal with the conflict once you have it, given that it's inevitable, that predicts happiness and staying together over the long haul. So if you have an unrealistic belief that conflict is bad, once you have conflict in your relationship, you're going to be upset or think there's something wrong. But if you believe that conflict is healthy and it's important to have conflict, it's how you deal with it that's important, then once you have it with a partner, you're much more likely to say, we're okay, I'm okay, my partner's okay. So the first step is all about examining those beliefs. The second one is looking at your emotions. Are you still strongly attached to the past? What I have found is that many people, when they get divorced, continue to have positive feelings toward their ex or very negative feelings toward their ex. And divorced singles who are able to say, I don't feel much of anything for my ex, I'm neutral, not positive, not negative, we're much more likely to find a new relationship. So you need to let go of the past. You can't have the emotional baggage that many people are carrying around.
Okay, so 2 things that I need to ask here. First of all, this applies to not even if you're going through a divorce, but if you've been in a long-term relationship and that's ending, or a stuck relationship, right? And you want to change it and move forward, right?
Absolutely true, even if you experience the loss or death of a loved one. So if you are coming out of a relationship, whether that be marital or non-marital, and whether that be divorce, separation, a breakup, or the death of a partner, these are steps to follow.
Okay, so, and we all carry baggage. So how can we, as we're trying to move into meeting people, how can we go about just one tip out of the book now? How can we go about kind of releasing some of that and getting more comfortable with who we are in that relationship and letting it go?
Well, first, I agree with you that we all carry baggage. You don't want to have too much baggage. It's almost like, what do you bring on an airplane as your carry-on? Is it a huge suitcase or is it light? And basically, if it's too big, someone asks you to check your baggage before you get on the plane. And you want to think about that. You can't have too much baggage. The one tip I would give right now is to write a letter to your ex-partner and get everything out on a piece of paper. All of your emotions, why you feel that, how you feel, how it's preventing you from going on in the future. Write the letter and then do not send it to your partner. This exercise is just for you. So once you write the letter, either throw it away or burn it or keep it. And I encourage people to do the same letter writing in 2, 4 weeks, 6 weeks later to see if your emotions have changed. So get it all out on paper straight to your partner, but do not give the letter to your partner or ex-partner.
That's really a beautiful tool. I have used that not just in relationships, but in other areas of my life where endings have taken place and I really haven't been able to move past them. I've used that even in my career where I've seen a change and left one client and moved forward and done a burning ritual with it. It's really amazing how that just putting it down there, I mean, the written word is so powerful, but putting that down there and getting clear really alleviates so much stress
emotion,
from yourself. Yeah, emotion.
Right.
It's so relieving.
Otherwise, it just keeps inside of you and works on your body and your physical health. So it's almost like a symbolic purging.
Yeah, that's amazing. I really, really, really love that tip. One of the things that I really loved about the book was the myth that you have to wait a certain period of time before you start a new relationship, whether it's, again, a divorce, end of a relationship, loss, death. People try to put a time frame on it and say, oh, you need to wait a year, you need to wait 3 years.
Right, absolutely. Many people believe that myth, Terry. But really, the truth is that there is no set timelines to follow, and only you will know when you're ready to get back in the dating world again. Some people emotionally separate while they're still in the relationship. So it could be months or years until they actually physically separate from this person, their ex-partner, or get a divorce. Other people need the physical separation in order to begin to emotionally separate. So everyone is different. Everyone has a different period, but research-wise, no findings, no set definite period of time that everyone needs to wait.
So it's basically coming back to yourself, like you talked about the first 4 chapters where we're learning about yourself. It's coming back to yourself and listening to yourself, listening to what seems comfortable and is going to work for you.
Absolutely. And there are 2 questions that I encourage people to ask themselves to see if they're ready. First, are you ready to trust someone again with your heart, your soul, your past, your mind? And second, are you really able to care and think about other and what the best interest of other is? If you can trust again, and if you're ready to put best interest of other in your head and mind, then you're ready to date again.
Okay, and so now what? They're ready to date again. What are the best places, the best areas for them to, start finding love in the right place instead of the wrong place?
Well, once you've looked at your attitudes, your thoughts, your emotions, then your behaviors and your sense of self or your key life values, and you really are ready to get out there again, Terry, there are 3 best places. First, you want to join a group activity that meets regularly. It can be a book club, an exercise class, a wine appreciation, or even a religious group that meets regularly. Because what we know is that there's a principle out there, a psychological principle called the mere exposure effect, MERE exposure effect. And that says the more we see someone, the more positively we feel about them and them to us. So we don't even have to talk to this person, but having contact with them regularly increases liking. And when you think about it, because you've now increased the liking toward this person, you also are probably going to feel more comfortable with them. And if you are in a group activity that's your interest and their interest, you're much more likely than to go up to them and say, hi, or do you like this class, or what did you think of that book, or what do you think about this religion or this principle in our religion? And so what that creates is a really ripe, rich surrounding to find someone who is like you.
What about the workplace? How does that fall into that?
The workplace is really interesting. I think workplace relationships are easy to develop because just like the other group activities, you're seeing this person regularly, you have a common interest, you might be working with each other, and there's a little excitement that goes on too. Let's say you get a deal, or you write a report together, or you write an article together. What you want to do, though, about the workplace is first, make sure there aren't any rules or regulations in your employment area. And many places, it is taboo or not allowed. Second, sometimes just the excitement, because it isn't appropriate, gets you excited and feeling differently about this person. And then third, you want to make sure that you're not the person that is in power or has control over this other partner, because then it's not a fair situation. So you want to talk about getting out of that situation if a workplace relationship is right for you.
Okay, again, listeners, we're talking with Dr. Terri Orbuch, and we are talking about her great new book called Finding Love Again, 6 Simple Steps to a New and Happy Relationship. We're talking about some tips to get you back out there in the dating area, and you can find all the information on Empower Radio on the Welcome to Blissville website. Okay, so Dr. Terri, what's the second way to find new love?
Yes. The second way is to get fixed up from your friends and family. I know whenever I say that, people go, oh, my. It's not for the desperate. It actually really works, Terri, because when you think about it, this other person knows you and knows this other person. So they think that you must have a common interest or underlying value. And we know, my study shows time and time again that similarity in underlying values about life, not necessarily interests or food preferences or music likes, but underlying values is really what keeps people together over the long haul. Don't have that fixer-up, though. Fixer-upper go on your date. You meet this person and talk. Meet in a neutral spot. Have it be for a short period of time, and ask questions. Don't only try to sell yourself on this blind date, but ask questions. Sometimes we think we have to sell ourselves on a first date, especially a blind date, but people love to be asked questions. So blind dates actually do work. And the third place is online dating. Online dating is becoming very successful, very easy, and very safe. As long as you give it time online, because we know relationships develop faster. Intimacy develops faster online. You're going to think you really know this person well. Give it time, at least a week, then go to the phone for a week. before you meet face to face. Never give out financial information and never give out personal information about yourself until way later on in the relationship. Don't take rejections personally because people are talking and chatting with lots of people. And remember to be honest.
Yeah, I'm sure that that's a key, and I'm sure that we hear, like I know I personally hear about that where people have put up pictures that really didn't represent them, and blah 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 blah. But I feel like that's probably not the majority. That the majority of people that are out there put their real self out there and are, really looking to make some really strong connections. What about dating younger people online? Can you look in a different age group? We've got the cougar syndrome going on here.
Yes, that is true. I think, biological age is not as important as maturity and having similarity in underlying values, assuming everyone's older than 18, Terry.
Right.
I always say that. But assuming everyone is an adult, it's really those common underlying key life values that you want to try to find in someone. Make sure you know your key life values about the importance of religion and children and lifestyle and money, and then look for someone who is similar to you in those key life values. Now, it may be the case that someone biologically younger than you has different experiences than you, and thus they're going to have different key life values. So what you want, again, is to look at those key life values rather than necessarily chronological or biological age.
And what about some key questions that we can ask on our first date? I'm saying hopefully I'm done with first dates. I would not want to be back out there in the dating game again, although I feel like I've got a really good tool if it ever happens. But what are some good questions that we can use for those little conversation starters?
Well, I think first, remember that you want to ask questions. You can ask questions about work or family. At the beginning, keep it not as deep, but get deeper as the dates go forward. But at the beginning, you can ask about work. You can ask what you like to do in your free time. Do they have pets? How long have they been living in this city? All kinds of questions that are interesting and fun to ask. As you get more into date after date, Terry, that's when you want to see about compatibility. You want to talk about, are they close to their family? How do they treat their sisters and brothers? How often do they see friends? How many hours a week do they work? Do they like their work? Do they wish they were doing something else? And again, you don't want to just bombard them with questions. It's always a give and take. You ask questions and allow that other person to ask questions as well. And there are 3 questions in the end to find out whether or not it's a serious relationship. First, again, are you similar in those underlying values and attitudes? Second, do you trust this person over time? And third, how do you do conflict or disagreements together? There's always going to be a disagreement. How much tip you should leave, what movie you should go to. There are always going to be disagreements. But how do you resolve them? There are always going to be stressors. How does that person resolve it? Resolve those stressors. Those are key questions to see if this person is the right one for you.
Well, and I would imagine that you're really not rushing into it after that first couple of dates, taking a little bit more time to listen to those answers and connect with that person instead of rushing right in and saying, okay, this is it. Really helps.
I
not
agree.
to be too judgmental.
There's, don't rush judgment, and you don't have to rush the relationship either. Now, you're going to know assuming you understand yourself. If you haven't looked at yourself and rebuilt yourself, it's going to be really hard to figure out whether or not this person is right for you, regardless of how much time you wait, Terry. So yes, wait. I totally agree with you. But also make sure you know yourself before you start the process.
Dr. Terri, we are running out of time here. We have just about a minute left, and first of all, I want to thank you so much for being here with me and sharing all of this wonderful information. And, I love to have my guests leave the listeners with, maybe one tool that they can go out and embrace today besides grabbing your book, of course. But what's one tool they can take with them today to really help them move forward in stepping out and finding love again?
Well, the most important tip, and which is perfect for your program, Terry, is that I found that those divorced singles who actually believe new love is possible, who have a positive approach to finding love again, were significantly more likely to find new love again. So being positive, being optimistic, being hopeful is the key to finding new love again.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for being here, and here's to your bliss.
Thanks so much for having me, Terry. It's been wonderful.